Inshallah, inshallah. Both Nawazish, thank you so much for inviting, and thank you for giving this Garib and Nachis an opportunity to share some of this ilm with the Jamaat. May Mullah bless all of you for this khidmat.
Ameen.
I mean, so with Yali Madad and with the prayers that Mullah Zaman help us with his nur, with his blessing, with his mercy and help, so we may together can take this journey, and inshallah, after learning and understanding, we may implement that in our daily practices, inshallah. As all of you remember, we were at the part 7 of our parables and allegories, unveiling the Batini Tawilat of various parable of the wise Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Today, we will continue to talk about the example or the parable of the fire. We had talked about the fire of ignorancy. We have talked about the fire of jealousy. And we have talked about the fire, the nur. Today, we will talk about the fire of guidance. I remember when last week someone was asking, how can we do ta'wil? It is almost not possible unless Imam's nur guides you. Imam's amr is with you. Imam's mercy is with you. Ilm-e-Hakiki helps understand some of the initial verses of the Quran. But as we have more and more ilm, and when I say ilm, you understand I'm only talking about ilm-e-laduni, ilm-e-Hakiki, ilm-e-Imam, ilm-e-Qiyamat, ilm-e-Tawil, ilm-e-Batin. When it comes to the Tawilat of the Quran, Ginans, Faramin, Tariqa, Shariat, one can take the help from the books, but if those books are given the Tawil by the nur of the Imam through Peers, Hujjatan and Dayan, Arife Zaman, then and then only some light could be shed on the Tawilat, on the parables and other guiding ilm, depending on the source. We are at a junction with this surah number 2, Surah Baqarah, ayat number 17. To understand this ayat, even though ayat looks and sounds very simple, but I assure you, once you listen to and pay attention to the Batini meaning, the Tawil of it, you will see whatever it looked like on surface, it had a different meaning. First thing to remember, Quran is not a book of a story, but a book of guidance. Book of guidance. When in this example, Allah is telling a story. Then take the example of the two men. The one who has the fire, the light, and the one who does not have a fire or light. The one who has the light would walk on the path as he could see the path due to the light. Contrary to that, other without the light will be left in darkness. Therefore, he would not be able to walk correctly or completely. So let's listen to this story first, then the understanding, and then the ta'wil. So we're going to take three parts: story, understanding, and then the ta'wil. Story goes that there are two men. They both enter into a jungle which is very deep and very dark. The first man has a torch with lithium battery inside. Very bright torch. The other one starts his journey with a box of match. As they enter the jungle and walk 100, 200 feet, because it is a deep jungle, it gets dark pretty quick. The person who has the lithium battery torch turns on the light. Now he can see his path. Versus the person who did not have the torch, but just a match, after bumping into the bushes and trees, he take one stick out of the match and he lights it. In that little bit light of the stick, he collects some pieces of wood from the ground and he puts that light onto the wood, the sticks. Now he can see where he was going and where he wanted to go. The problem was, as he started to walk and as he was leaving the fire behind, the light would be lighter and lighter and not so much brighter and brighter. Therefore, after walking for 10, 20, 30 feet, he completely find himself in the darkness. Again, he bumps into the bushes and bumps into the tree. So he takes the second stick and lights. Find some pieces of wood, sticks, put a light to it. And with that light, he again is able to see which way he was supposed to go, and he starts to walk. And again, after 30, 40 feet, he finds himself in the darkness. On and on until every last stick out of the match has been used and utilized. And there is nothing to light anymore. Therefore, he is left completely in dark and lost. And he never makes it to the other side, to the destination. Remember, there was another man with a flashlight, with a lithium battery torch. He continued his journey without too much trouble. He was able to find his way out of the jungle on the other side, and he was able to find and reach to his destination. Understanding of this story is that there are two kinds of people in this world. One who has the guidance, the light, and one who does not have a guidance, and every now and then he is able to find the light. And when he does find the light, and when he walks away from the light, he is lost again in the darkness. And he would have to find the light again. And when he does find the light, for a while he could see and he can walk. But because he himself leaving the light behind, he gets lost in the darkness again. And again, until a time comes that he's so much lost without the light that he cannot find his way out of the jungle, and therefore he's completely lost, far away from the destination, and he never reaches to the makan, the destination he had started his journey on. What is the ta'wil of that? That those who are with a permanent light, the Noor-e Khudawandi. In the example, we use word, the flashlight with a lithium battery, which never goes out. The ta'wil of that is the Noor-e Ilahi on this earth is the one light which cannot be distinguished, would not go out. And if you have that light with you, then you can go through this jungle, this life, the example jungle, this life, this worldly life, the physical life that we have. And if we have the light, the Noor-e Ilahi, the Imam-e-Zaman, then regardless of how hard the journey is, how tough the jungle is. Because of the light, one will be able to navigate through the path and inshallah will make it to the other side, meaning to the asal. After they die, they will have found the path and the destination due to the light which they followed, because they were with the Nur. Now, what is the example of the other people? If we start from the Adam, those who followed the Khalifa Khuda on the earth, the Adam, who attached themselves to the Noor-e Ilahi, which was blown into the Adam. They were the one who were guided. They were the one who were guided by the Noor-e Khuda. Because they had the light, even on the difficult journey of the physical life, they were able to move forward. Until when? Until they decided to leave the light behind by saying, now I understand, now I see my path, now I can choose my own path, and I do not need the light or the guidance of Allah on the earth. So they left the Prophet. Few remained, but most left. Then what happened? They were not able to find the destination until and finally they found another light. An example, in the shape and form of Hazrat Nuh alayhi wasalam. So again, they had the light and they were able to see and find their destination. But once they were able to see their destination, by their natural habit, what did they say? I don't need this light. I can see my destination. I can walk to my destination. I don't need this light. So they left that light, the guidance behind. And again, they started to bump into difficulties and they were not able to find the destination. Here comes another light with the name of Ibrahim in the shape of the Noor-e-Ilahi. Now again, they were able to see the destination, the journey. But by their nature, they repeated what they told themselves that we will never do. They left the light behind by saying, what? I see where I need to go. I understand where I need to go. I do not need the light. And they left the Noor-e-Ilahi in the past, in the dark, behind. Now again, they are walking in the darkness without the light. But Allah, with His mercy, sent another light, Hazrat Musa alayhi wasalam. And people were guided again by the Noor-e-Ilahi. But by the nature, again, what they were telling the others, why would you ever leave your light in the back when you should have carried and walked with the light always? So you always have the guidance. But then they forgot and they left their light just like before behind. And now again, they were in the deep jungle of this physical world and in darkness. And they could not walk any further than where they were because they did not have the Nur Ilahi guiding them. And again, at the time of Hazrat Isa, that is the parable Allah is giving in this ayat. That they are the one who are living the guidance when Allah sent them the Nur, they choose not to keep the light, not continue to follow the light. So Allah said, because of that, I left them in the darkness, in the complete darkness. And now they are unable to see. Because these eyes cannot see unless there is a light. A human cannot see the path, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, unless there is a light. Because they left the light, they were not able to see. Let's move forward. Beautiful question about the light and Imam Shanasi. Please tell us which way is better from this two. To recognize the Imam from the Quran or the Quran from the Imam. Let me repeat this for man. What does Imam says? It is he who interprets the faith. It is he who guides the Jamaat in the interpretation of the faith at any time during his lifetime. Meaning, without the light, without the guidance, one cannot follow the path, Sirat al-Mustaqim, the faith, nor one can understand the Taʻwīlāt of the Quran. In this ayat, Surah 5, ayat number 15, and the understanding of this ayat, Allah says, I have sent down the Nur and the book. Allah has sent down the Imam and the book, Quran. There is such a verse in the Quran which means that with the Nur, one can recognize the Imam, and with the Nur, the book will be recognized too. It is the Nur, Nur-e-Ilahi in the Imam. If you have the light in your hand, then you will find your true path. You will be able to find and recognize the Imam. At the same time, you will be able to learn and be guided by the book. As with the Nur, one can see and recognize the Imam. You see, our subject on the light, why it is so important. Those who are holding on to the light, the guidance, the Faramin of the Imam, not like deaf, dumb, and blind. We are not talking about blind faith. We are not talking about those who had put their fingers in their ear and their head in the sand by saying, I do not need the light nor the guidance. But those who believe and be guided by the light versus those who does not believe, then they are willfully by their free will have closed their ears, not listening to Farman. They have become dumb. They cannot speak the truth. And they have become blind as their eyes does not find the Nur-e-Ilahi, the light in the Imam. Believers versus disbelievers. How do we compare them? When they meet, the believers say, we believe. And you need to pay attention. Those who looks like that they are believers. And when they meet the true believers, they will say, we are also believer. But when they are alone, then you truly see that they have nothing but the evil in their heart and they associate themselves with the evil. Meaning, there are so many disbelievers who pretend to be believers, but they are nothing but disbeliever. There is a Quranic ayat you can follow if you like. And the reference is right there on your screen. Surah 2, ayats 14 through 18. Where when they are with the believers, they will pretend to be believers, but then they are not, and they mock the believers. They will say they are fool for believing in a human, in an imam. And they will tell you that they are rightly guided by the book, but they cannot read the book without the light. And their example would be that they are deaf. They cannot listen to the words, the guidance, the amr of the Quran. And therefore, they have become dumb. When they speak, they cannot speak truth. It's like they have not spoken anything at all. And because they willfully have made themselves blind to the Noor-e Ilahi and the guidance of the Imam, then they are not able to walk any further on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, as they could not see, as they have lost their light, and now willfully they have become blind. So they mock the believers. Allah says, Allah will throw their mockery back at them, leaving them to the continue wandering blindly in their defiance. वो खाली भटकते रहेंगे इधर उधर अंधों की तरह, क्योंकि उन्होंने इमाम के नूर की रोशनी को छोड़ दिया. They are the ones who trade guidance for misguide. They did have a true guide. They did have the true nur, the ilm, but willfully, because they left the light and the guidance willfully, then they will be misguided. Because all the guidance they left behind. The fire they left behind. Their example is that of someone who kindles a fire, but when it lights up all around them, Allah takes away their light, leaving them in complete darkness, unable to see, as they are willfully deaf, dumb, and blind. So they will never return to their destination, to the right path. I would encourage you to read this Quranic ayat from 2:14 through 2:18. So you can see how they have themselves blinded. A guiding light. The light that we talked about today is a guiding light, meaning a living light, meaning a living nur, meaning a living Imam-e-Zaman. And Allah guides whomever He will. You surely cannot guide whoever you like. What did we just say? That was one of the questions last week. That we want to guide them, but they are not listening to us. We want them to do A, B, C, but they are ignoring us. Allah says, it is Allah who guides whomever He wills. You surely cannot guide whomever you like, but it is Allah who guides whomever He wills. And He knows best who are fit to be guided. If they hang on to the light, the nur on this earth, then surely they will find Allah very merciful and guiding. But if they choose to leave the nur, leave the light, leave that guidance behind, then they will not be guided, and they cannot be guided. Because Allah had given them a light, but they chose to leave it. Allah has given them a guiding lights, but they had chose themselves to leave their lithium battery torch, flashlight behind. And because of that, they will not be guided. They may look like smiley and guided. They're still going to look like Muslim and human. But according to Imam's Furman and words, they are nothing more than animal, because they chose to be wandering around on the wrong path and did not hang on to the Nur Ilahi, the guiding light, the Imam Zaman. Then you cannot help them. The moral of the story is, and the Taweil and understanding is, that in the Quran you will find such words which has one simple Taweil, and one can be guided by it. Then there are other words and concepts in the Quran which has Taʻwīlāt after Taʻwīlāt after Taʻwīlāt after Taʻwīlāt. And the word fire is such a word, a concept, where fire can be blessing in the form of the nur. At the same time, fire can be in the form of jealousy. And those who are jealous of the others, and especially of the Imam Zaman, they themselves will burn themselves, and they will not be guided. So if you think about the light, the nur, but if this light is the light of jealousy, then that very fire which was supposed to guide you will burn you. How does that happen? When someone, an example of Iblis, an example of so many other humans throughout the time, they were jealous of the Imam. So the nur which was supposed to bless them and guide them, due to the jealousy toward the Imam, they were burned by the very light which was supposed to guide them. Fire, a symbol of the rank. Fire, the symbol of the ignorancy, jahalat. And today we covered fire, the light of guidance. I believe this concludes our lecture and session. So we covered 3 points quickly. We had a story from the Quran of the two men. Then we understood how people in their time have left their light behind, and there are others who have the light, the continued guidance in the form of Imam. Then the Taweil of that was that whomever have the light, the nur of the Imam upon them, they are the one who will be truly guided. because and the due to the nur of the Imam on them. So we should hang on to, hold tight and fast to the nur of the Ilahi, the guidance of Allah, the Quran, and the robe of Allah in the shape of Imam and his Farman, inshallah. So let me stop here. So we have time for comments and question. Thank you again for listening and joining. G.
Thank you, Aziz sir. So the chat is open, and if anyone has any questions related to the Taʻwīlāt of fire or any aspect about Taʻwīlāt in general that we've covered over the last few sessions, you can type them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I can call upon you to speak. Okay, so we have our first one. Monica, you can go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, Alimadad, thank you so much for such an inspirational talk and with the great examples. And I find that the more I listen to you, the more I can really imbibe a lot of knowledge, and I don't have to immediately know exactly where everything fits, because the evolution of your train of thought and your discussion is just amazing. I found it really interesting also how jealousy, envy, even if we prefer to call it that, it suddenly becomes as if, you know, the fire will then start burning you. And it's very interesting, it's the same fire as the one that should push you ahead. And there's another example I had come across about jealousy, and that was a slightly similar example as well, that it is equal to handing someone a cup of poison, but you drinking it yourself. So I think when you refer to the fire, fire is very good once it just drives you and you can use it and be, you know, very, very lucky and very fortunate to have it guide you. But once something triggers you to then become very envious of someone, it then starts to consume you. So I thought that was a great example and culmination of all the points you made. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I will add a comment to that.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time in every age, why would someone would leave the guiding light? Why? One single reason: jealousy.
Wow. Yes.
Look at Iblis. Jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those who left Mullah Ali. Jealousy.
Wow.
You see, we have two great examples. Now you find in each time, one single reason you will find, and that would be jealousy. Jealousy is such a fire which can burn you and will have no good come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are jealous of the Noor-e Ilahi, that is even worse. G.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Aziz sir, we have a couple of questions from the chat. I'm going to read two questions out as one. So it begins by asking, how does Allah decide who he will guide? And the second part is, how can one prepare oneself to be guided?
Very good. Allah's decision and the will is on your will. If you choose not to be guided, because free will is with the human. Let's take animal, angels, and human in the middle. Animal has no intellect. So the guidance is not there. Angels are pure intellect, so guidance is not needed. Human in the middle has an animalistic instincts and intellectual angelic light, the intellect. But with that comes the free will. And with that free will, when we keep the nur, the guidance, meaning the Imam, then we are saying ourselves, Ya Allah, I would like to be guided. And Allah says, that is my will too, that you would be guided. Because if this was not Allah's will, He would have never sent Imam Zaman. So Allah wills all to be guided. But at the same time, He has given the human the both side of the free will. Become animal or become angel, or stay in the middle and be guided. And that's how one can be guided. And that is how one should prepare themselves to be guided. Do not blind yourself from the nur. Do not put your finger in your ears when the ilm is given. And on top of that, only speak the truth. So do not be amongst those who are deaf, dumb, and blind. When you become part of that group, then Allah's will is not to guide you. Ji.